Aristotle aims to identify the highest good for human beings. While most people believe that the highest good is the acquisition of material wealth, pursuit of honor, or satisfaction of bodily pleasure, Aristotle argues that all of these goods are deficient as the highest good in some way. Material wealth is always acquired for the purpose of obtaining something else. Pursuing honor is not connected to any characteristic of the person himself, but how others perceive him. And satisfying bodily pleasures is not a good peculiar to human beings. Here, Aristotle gives us insight into an important component of the highest good. It must be something that is consistent with the maximization of our faculties as human beings. What separates human beings from non-human animals is our capacity for reason, and a life that aims only at satisfying bodily pleasures is one Aristotle claims is not fit for human beings, but for cattle. And so he argues that a good life for human being would focus to a significant extent on contemplation and learning, or acquiring the intellectual virtues. Socrates says that he can't stop examining his own life because the unexamined life is not worth living. That statement provides tremendous insight into Socrates' understanding as to what it means to live a good life. What Socrates is telling us is that the person who merely wakes up in the morning, goes to work, does his job, comes home, watches television, goes to bed, and then repeats this process day in and day out for his entire life, never really reflecting on what he ought to be doing or what he values and why, that life is not worth living. But for Socrates, participating in this type of rational reflection about what you value and why, that is, doing philosophy, is not enough by itself in order to live a good life. What is also needed is that an individual becomes a master of himself, using his reason to rein in his passions, as well as doing what he can to help promote the stability of his community. And these topics are explored directly in Plato's dialogue Republic. While most people think of Republic as a political dialogue that focuses on the nature of justice, it is perhaps better understood as a dialogue focusing on virtue and the role of philosophy, community, and the state in helping to create the conditions that make living well possible.
Human existence. Existence precedes essence also means that every human is being solely responsible for their action. Because we choose who we are. Humans are born nothing and then become who they are through choices and actions. According to Wilson, humans' existence may be simpler than we thought. There is no predestination, no unfathomed mystery of life. Demons and gods do not vie for our allegiance. Instead, we are self-made, independent, alone, and fragile, a biological species adapted to live in a biological world. But we cannot conclude from our biological origins alone that there is no God or divine purpose for our lives. Wilson must give us more. In fact, the claim that God exists and has a purpose for our lives is clearly consistent with the claim that evolution is true. After all, God might have used evolution to bring us about and carry out His plans for our lives.
So, as best as we can answer, just what are we? The key to the great riddle lies in the circumstance and process that created our species. The human condition is a product of history, not just the 6 millennia of civilization, but very much further back, across hundreds of millennia. The whole of it, biological and cultural evolution, must be explored in seamless unity for a complete answer to the mystery. When viewed across its entire traverse, the history of humanity also becomes the key to learning how and why our species arose and survived. Most important to the growth of humans is the brain. The expansion of the human brain was one of the most rapid episodes of complex tissue evolution in the history of life. With the brain came complex thought, language, religion. These are what make humans unique. The stories that compose the conscious mind cannot be taken away from the mind's physical, neurobiological system. which serves as scriptwriter, director, and cast combined. The self, despite the illusion of its independence created in the scenarios, is part of the anatomy and physiology of the body. According to Wilson, humanity arose as an accident of evolution, a product of random mutation and natural selection. For the 400 million years that large animals have occupied the land, Homo sapiens has been the only one to evolve intelligence high enough to create a civilization. On another note, human beings are not wicked by nature. We have enough intelligence, goodwill, generosity, and enterprise to turn Earth into a paradise, both for ourselves and for the biosphere that gave us birth. We can plausibly accomplish that goal, at least be well on the way, by the end of the present century. The instability of the emotions is a quality we should wish to keep. It is the essence of the human character and the source of our creativity. We need to understand ourselves in both evolutionary and psychological terms in order to plan a more rational, catastrophe-proof future. Science and the humanities, it is true, are fundamentally different from each other in what they say and do, but they are complementary to each other in origin, and they arise from the same creative processes in the human brain.
Now, let's talk about public good. Public good is usually refers to a commodity or service that is made available to all members of the society. A Filipino philosopher, Rolando Gripaldo, argued that the concept of the public good is related to politico-ethical sense and that can be perceived by two levels. The first one is comes from people themselves, which individuals could be benefit from public good through civil society. The second one is comes from local or national government, which believes that the government should provide the public goods such as education, health highways, social service, and the like. He also cited some factors that affect the public good. These are the crime, corruption, and population.